Hey everybody!
Q&A Sunday!
On a Monday! We are in, well actually we're in Marion, but we're just outside. We're in West Memphis.
Arkansas. As opposed to Tennessee.
Yes. Memphis is that way, I think. So I guess we'll get right to it because we are on a mission today, which we'll explain in a second.
Oh yeah.
But these questions, all of them this week came from
Amy.
From Amy, yeah.
She is my mom's best friend from college and just a long-time family friend. She even donated to the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund, so thank you, Amy, for that. We really appreciate that.
You.
It's not too late for anybody that is still looking to donate. We're going to be doing that through the end of July, so get your donations in. But these questions are from Amy because she was catching up on the videos and had a couple of questions of things we haven't addressed yet. So the first one is, where do you keep your cool GPS tracker? I forgot the name of it.
It is the DeLorme?
Delorme? InReach?
InReach. We just call it the InReach. It's like a little walkie-talkie. I keep it in my vest right here.
Your life jacket.
Yeah, my life jacket, sorry. My life vest. And it just clips right there, and it's kind of cool because then I can just flip it down without having to take it out, and I can see our distances or speed or everything like that without having to fiddle around in bags or cases or anything like that. Because when we're on the river, or actually just paddling in general, we start it just we push off, and it'll run the whole time that we're paddling. So sometimes it can be 10 or 12-hour days that it's there, and the thing's been great. I mean, we finally tweaked the
recording.
Like it'll take points every 2 minutes, but it'll only send every 10. So it'll send like 5 points up at once, but it only sends it a couple times an hour, so that saves batteries, and we found that to be pretty good. And it just does it all by itself. And then once we're back in Asheville in the mountains, we're gonna be able to use the mapping part of it a little bit more, and waypoints and all that. That part wasn't conducive for the river. But yep, always sits right there. It's like I'm ski patrolling again. It's like sits right there.
Please give an example you are most proud of when you two improvised and made it work. Woo!
Well,
it's hard to give like one solid example, but definitely anytime the plan had to change drastically. So, of course, you've heard the example of when we were at Crow Wing State Park. We had just paddled a couple miles. Rachel's back was bad, and we decided at that point to pull off the river. That was definitely a huge, change to the plans, not something we were really foreseeing at that point. And we kind of had another one this morning.
Yep. Because it's the 11th, and we had plans to meet Elizabeth's friend Bethany in New Orleans on the 23rd, and we're going to spend a few days there and then head back. But given the fact that she's covered...
Can you guys see this? I don't know if you can see it from your angle. Oh, there we go.
There, like all over.
All of my ankles, everything is covered in bug bites. And of course, heat and humidity and sweat just make it even more miserable.
And as a side note, we decided they're not mosquito bites.
Probably
well,
not.
I think they're a mixture of something.
Some kind of flying, biting insect.
Yeah. Like Ebola. Leprosy. I don't know. But because of that and the fact that humidity doesn't really do well for those, and we've been fighting humidity and storms the last week and a half now. And
it's miserable to camp outside, and the coolest it gets at night is like 80 degrees. Like, you literally sweat all the time. You barely sleep. I mean, we got a hotel these last 2 nights, and we've taken 2 3-hour naps, plus slept a good, 10 hours each night?
10 hours, yeah.
I mean, that just shows you how much sleep we're catching up on. We didn't even leave the hotel yesterday.
No, like, we're just across the river from Memphis, and we didn't leave.
Haven't seen it.
Like, we'll drive through it today, but that's it. So the original plan was to go camping again for 2 more nights just outside Memphis, and then slowly make our way down camping until we hit New Orleans. But we decided that that's 10, 11, 12-ish more days.
And that's just not fun. And we had decided a while back that, whatever happened with this trip, however it turned out, we were going to make sure that we enjoyed it.
Oh, that was you. Okay. Yeah. So we have decided that we are now heading to Michigan.
Woo woo.
Yeah, I called my mom today and I'm like, hey mom, so you know how we always change plans?
We'll see you tonight.
We'll be there tonight. And she just cracked up. Not that it's an issue, but we're going to go see Zoe, pick her up, and then mom's free this whole week. So we're probably all going to go to the lake house and spend some time up there in the cooler weather. We'll have a big old lake to paddle on for every so often if that's what we so desire. We'll go play tourist, do some wine tasting, just enjoy the last 2 weeks that we have before Elizabeth has to be back in North Carolina for the subpoenas. And that is a perfect example of how things change drastically.
Yeah, and I am proud of us for just being flexible and, looking at the bigger picture.
Because it's a 9.5 hour drive and then we'll be there. And I think we're going to be a lot more happy. We'll have Zoe, we'll have mom, we'll have the lake, we'll have cooler weather. Air conditioning, less bugs.
Laundry facility, showers.
So we'll be happy and we're still making the most out of the time that we have. And ideally, if we can work out the logistics, we will swing by Chesapeake, Virginia to see Bethany on the weekend that we had planned to anyway. So less traveling for her, and we still these two get to have BFF time because they need it every now and then. So that's a really great example of improvising, adapting, and overcoming, I guess.
Yeah, it's cool how this trip has become more and more about family than I thought it was going to be.
That is true.
It just naturally kind of like evolved that way. It started with your mom and the week with her, and then we had the time with Dad. And now we're finishing on it off back up with your mom.
And then maybe seeing Bethany, and then we'll see your folks.
And then the whole time we've been talking about, living in Asheville, which involves being near Mom and Dad and Becca and everybody. So
yeah. It's
been really cool.
Yep. Before we left, had anyone said this is how your trip's going to turn out, we'd be like, what?
Nope.
No, that's just ridiculous. But here
Why
we are.
would we do that?
And as you can tell, we were not this giddy and happy yesterday. We were just kind of like,
yeah,
whatever, kind of. But we have a plan now, and it's a good plan, and we're happy with it. And
yeah, I was dreading the camping for 2 more weeks. Because we were trying to have that balance of what's, financially responsible versus comfort. And, it's really hard to justify even like an $80 hotel room when that's 4 nights of camping at a campsite with a shower, so it's just really hard to weigh that. But we've come up with, I think, what's the best solution for us.
And I had been working on this for a couple days, ever since we got back in the hotel here. I was like, because I don't mind camping, I really love it, but when you're this far south, and we're only going to go further south, in July, the weather's not really conducive to that. Call us pansies, but whatever.
Yeah. More power to the guys that are still paddling and camping down here. Woo!
We'll finish it one day, but not this summer.
No.
Alright.
Another question is, has there been a scary moment you'd feel like sharing? Yeah, there have been a few. There was, of course, the time when we were paddling the Missouri River and going under the bridges between the pillars, there's a lot of strong cross currents, and so you're literally like just paddling as hard as you can to counteract the cross currents. Going through one of the bridges, like if you're heading down, our boat was going down like this because we were paddling, forward, but with the cross currents, it had turned our boat long ways. So even just to keep from running into the pillars, like we were going like long ways through the pillars.
It was because I guess hindsight, I guess I probably should have paid a little bit more attention, but we had just come off several days of rain, and the current is like that anyway, so you throw in more water, and the current was a little ridiculous, and like Elizabeth said, going through that one bridge, it just wanted to suck you in and wrap you around that pillar.
Yeah.
And it was a double pillar, so even if we had, managed to get past one, it still would have all the way, all the way down. And we had her dad in the boat. We weren't loaded down, but it, I don't know, probably would have destroyed the canoe and probably parts of us.
Yeah, that was scary.
Yep.
The other scary time recently was at one of our campsites.
Yeah.
So the night before, or I guess a couple of nights before, we had raccoon visitors at a different campsite, and they were super sweet, and they
Fed them goldfish.
Yeah, well, they messed with our trash, and they got into the dog food that was in the back of my dad's truck and stuff like that. But really no harm, no foul, and once we moved the dog food inside the truck, they went away. But then the next night we were at this other campsite.
It was a very nice campsite.
Gosh, there was something big out there. I don't know if it was a raccoon or not. Neither one of us really wanted to look. It sounded big. We heard a loud crash. And I was trying to think through what it could have possibly been that was falling, because there wasn't anything in the truck that I felt like could have done that. And anyways, when we got up in the morning, one of our blue, Lowe's 5-gallon buckets was turned over with the lid off, and our stuff, this was our our cooking utensils bucket as opposed to our food bucket, and stuff was just everywhere, and whatever it was destroyed one of our silicone cups, drinking cups, and
left some teeth teeth marks in the jet boil cover. Didn't destroy it, but we can it's got souvenir marks on it.
Yeah, so in that, while we were sitting there in the dark, not knowing what the hell was out there, yeah, that gets a little bit scary.
Yeah. Another one too that she didn't mention, it wasn't scary, not like going into that bridge on the Missouri, but I had my pucker factor moment when we're on Lake Winnie.
Mm-hmm.
We only had to go a mile and ended up going 3, and that canoe was taking a good 3-foot waves sometimes.
I was afraid I was gonna die.
I knew we weren't gonna die, but I
was
knew
afraid we were gonna tip over, and if we were gonna tip over, then I was pretty sure I was just gonna die.
You wouldn't have died.
That's why I paddled like my life depended on it.
Our stuff would have gone all over, and we may not have recovered all of it, but we wouldn't have died. But I was not looking forward to going in the water. And this was still early in our trip.
Like 2 weeks in.
It was 6 or something, wasn't it?
Maybe.
6 or 7, I don't know. But it was still cold and windy and not the ideal time to go for a dip in the water. But we made it. It kind of built our confidence a little bit. And now I know the boat can take 3 or 4 foot waves.
Yeah.
Side note, there you go.
Yeah. The last thing is just any general thoughts on persevering, which, I feel like this whole Q&A session has been a little bit about persevering. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you gotta do what makes you happy.
Yeah. And what's right for you.
Yeah. Just do it.
I with my back, I could have pushed through until I physically couldn't have. And then
broke.
Yeah. Elizabeth even mentioned, she said, if I had been doing this by myself, I probably would have ended up in the hospital. Because I'm just the person that'll push through. I'll just shut up and take it until I can't. And then you're in a worse situation than you would have been had you stopped when you should have. So, hindsight, I'm glad that I pushed through it for a couple of days until it was super bad. And then we came off the river and rehabbed it a bit. And it's still not perfect by any means, but
you can paddle in calm water, though.
Yeah, or on a lake or something, yeah. So we still have that, and I can still sit in the truck and drive, and I can still walk, and I still have to take Motrin every day to get through it, but our trip would have been, I think, a lot shorter had we not come off the river when we did. Yeah. And we got to see a lot of cool stuff between then and here in Memphis right now.
Totally. Those are some of, as much as I loved the paddling days, there's still some great things, some really cool things we did.
And cool people and cool sights and just different types of inspiration and motivation, which I would not have thought would have happened either on this
totally. This trip, has been all about, future planning and future goals and...
ambitions and
future career moves, and yeah, very cool.
So the whole trip has been about that. I mean, you typically think, you know, it's like that one day when we went to, we did like only 7 miles in solid rain coming off Cass Lake.
Yeah.
We started in rain. It wasn't super windy, but we're fighting the water, the wind, the current.
Our crappy rain gear, so we were soaked to the bone.
I mean, you literally shut up and just paddle. And we finally found a campsite that we hadn't intended on stopping at, but we made the decision that we're soaked. It's not going to do us any good to press on. So we just stopped and, you know, spent the night there, and yeah. It's been interesting all the way around. So,
yep. So it looks like we'll do one more Q&A Sunday as kind of a wrap up, since we're, you know, now going away from the river. So if you have any remaining questions, feel free to send us those. And thank you to everyone who has submitted questions and
played along,
just watched and you know, gotten some kind of enjoyment out of our pain and agony. Thanks for all the support, everybody, and especially for those who have donated to the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund.
And if you haven't, please do so. There's still time. And
even $10, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter.
Just
we won't judge you.
throw your stripper money or something. You know, it's like a 6-pack. Or a nice 4-pack.
So, anyways, next week we'll kind of wrap everything up.
Yep, next week we will be up in Glen Lake, Michigan, Traverse City area at the lake house. So if you have any questions about that,
or even any like overall questions about the trip,
or the fundraising that we've been doing, random questions about us or for us or whatever. I mean, we talked about poop, so I guarantee it won't get any worse than that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Carrie can think of something. Carrie. So yeah, keep the questions coming. We'll do this one more time. And don't worry, the videos are not going to stop. We're just pausing the Q&A stuff until our next big adventure. But the videos will continue, and it will follow along as we get settled in Asheville. I go back to school. Elizabeth settles into her new role. Hopefully we're going to buy land soon, house. Goats, gardening, all that good stuff. So don't worry, don't fear, we'll still be here. Ooh, I just made that up and it rhymed.
Good job. Let's end on a high note.
We're gonna go get coffee, so
bye.
See ya.